Men, do you ever feel like you just can't get ahead? Like you're misunderstood? Like you have no one to talk to that truly hears you?
And women, are you often frustrated, hurt, and saddened in your relationships with the men in your life?
What if there were a community of like-minded men going through the same challenges that would support, hear, and understand what you're going through?
Working together in unison to create understanding, intimacy, and strong connections. That's the Way of the Illuminated Warrior.
Way of the Illuminated Warrior Talk Show is a forum of candid conversations for men and women about men. Heard every Thursday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Being a man today is not always easy. Until now.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Way of the Illuminated Warrior Talk Show. I am very excited to introduce my friend, Sandia Maheshwari. She is a transformational life coach, and she's going to share some wisdom with us today. So welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. I've been looking forward to have this opportunity. So thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to start off with, because you just actually said, and I saw you posted it, a statement from Howard Thurman, Martin Luther King's mentor, about not worrying about, I'm paraphrasing, what to do in the world, but like what makes you come alive. So knowing you the way I do, I know doing your transformational coaching work makes you come alive. So let's just dive right into that. How did you get into it? What brings you this passion to this work that you're doing?
Well, two things that come to mind right off the bat. And the first thing is, since I was a little girl, grade school, middle school, and loved to teach. I always have loved to teach. I would have my imaginary students, and my parents had dedicated the backside of a door for it to be a chalkboard. And then I would discipline them because the nuns in my convent school had trained me how to discipline with a ruler, right? Mm-hmm. So I always loved to teach, okay? And then, went through college and came to this country. I came to this country 36 years ago and got married, had kids, and life happened, right? But the desire and the passion to teach was absolutely always right there at, any opportunity, whether it was cooking classes or whether it was tutoring somebody in math, right? And then the other thing that happened was went through a divorce. And that shook me up so bad that I was willing to do whatever I needed to do to get myself together. So, of course, did the counseling route, which made a huge difference. And then I got deeper into personal development, right? And it transformed the trajectory of my life. And I just immersed myself in the principles, the fundamentals, the universal laws, right? And then, the best way to master something is to teach.
Yeah.
I would volunteer my time. I would do a lot of coaching. And I did that while I was working my corporate career for 18 years. On the side, in the evenings and on the weekends, I was volunteering my time in coaching. So that's been, my little background about what got me into it. It wasn't so much what got me into it. It was always a part of me. I just let it, come up for me. And I paid attention to it.
Like yes. Michelangelo chipping away at the marble to reveal what's underneath. Yeah.
Bingo. Yeah.
So you made an interesting statement, but to achieve mastery, the best thing to do is to teach. Yes. So you tell me if you agree with this, because obviously, I'm a life coach, coaching men also. And I very often say, like, a lot of the things that have helped me is the interactions and the teachings and just spending time in circle with the guys. And it's just as transformative for me as it is for them. So there's a saying that, like, what we need the most, we wind up teaching to others. So do you agree with that?
Absolutely. In fact, the last couple of years with COVID, okay, and the move from Pittsburgh to Asheville. These are some major stressful, phases in one's life. And throughout the last couple of years, I have been consistently, doing my work, doing my trainings, and working with my clients. And I tell you, it has been so much a saving grace, my work, because I can't get on the phone or on Zoom until I have my act together. Because people can see it right through me. So it's always, practicing first before teaching it, right? And that has really served me immensely. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes you a great coach also. And that's really, I don't think I could work with anybody if I wasn't really genuine. And people do see right through the con artist BS kind of
the facade.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really important to show up as you want others to show up and just be real. And life is not always pretty, so presenting ourselves the way we really are and sharing that. I said this actually yesterday to a brother. I'm like, whatever you are going through, it may not be the same exact thing, but as we sit together, as we sit in circle, guys talk about different things, we could all relate because it's not that much different. The emotions are the same, the feelings are the same, whether it's hurt or anger or worthiness, all those things. So it's so important for us to be ourselves and to put it out there, what we're going through, because it's a gift not just to other people, but to ourselves as well. It's like totally holistically transformative. Right?
Yes, it is. Yes. There's this common thread that goes through, each one of us. We have more in common than not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of sharing with others too. Like, just, to make the point, I mentioned to you that, I was out and about taking care of some things that needed to be addressed this morning, and came home. I was eating lunch, and here is my neighbor. She walks over and she's cleaning our sidewalk, the snow. And my husband, he was a bit under the weather. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't just be watching her and, not saying anything. So I just went outside and was visiting with her, plus maintaining, the distance, since Bill has been a bit under the weather. And as I'm just being with her, she just opens her heart and starts sharing. Mm. And she shared some things with me that moved me deeply. And it was like, oh my gosh. And this is the first time this neighbor has opened her heart the way she did. See, the point I'm trying to make here is, as soon as there's a window of opportunity, people love to open up and share when they feel safe.
Yes.
That's the most important thing, Yeah. They have to feel safe. Otherwise, they have their, walls up.
Yeah, so true, so true. Yeah, that's the first tenet of our men's circles and alls. It's safe and sacred, and you're right. Everybody wants to feel safe, and that sacredness comes in where they know that, hey, whatever happens here, it's just within this group. It's not, for gossip. It's not for sharing with other people. We're holding each other in, the highest esteem. My intention is always like to be there for whoever just needs the presence. And that's like such a powerful thing. And I think that's what you're experiencing this morning with your neighbor, even though you don't know each other that well. Yes, she felt safe enough, but also that reciprocity of just being there and being present for her. I'm sure you weren't being like, wow, man. You were like, just like you're doing now. You're listening, and you respond to that. And that's huge, because a lot of people don't have anyone sometimes to listen to them and to validate and to hear them. And that's a huge, gift to give to people.
It so is, Waska. One of the things one thing that comes to mind right now is people talk about depression, right? I had read this somewhere, that we human beings experience depression when we are all in our head. As soon as we step outside our heads and step into somebody else's world, it disappears.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer about me. When my attention is out there, when my attention is on listening, or looking for what would make a difference, or serving in some way, shape, or form, depression evaporates. And it's such a in a few decades ago in India, and even now, or even in this country, it's a universal thing. We always lived in families, the joint family, especially in India. Now it's very different. People don't want to be bothered, right? But that's what the elders provided.
Absolutely.
They heard the daughters and the sons and the daughter-in-laws, right? And the grandchildren. So beautiful. And, it's such a missing for me.
Oh, yes.
It is such a missing. And I think that's what also I would say, like you said earlier, what we need most is what we love to give, right? It's just having the connection with people and contributing and making a difference for them is so fulfilling when I am. Yeah. And that's really what makes me come alive, to go back to Howard Thurman's quote, who was Martin Luther King Jr.'s mentor. He said, "Don't ask for what the world needs. Ask for what makes you come alive, and then go do that." Because what the world needs is more people that have come alive.
Yeah.
Right?
So true.
And it's in giving and in contributing, in serving, in listening.
Yeah.
Is when we come alive.
That's such a great point. That's so true. And that's that to me is the highest form of being close to Creator, God, Great Spirit, is to be in service. And a lot of the guys that I do work with, when we talk about service, a lot of the issues stem from worthiness and financial stability and prosperity and abundance mindset. And I'm like, listen, bro, it doesn't matter what you have financially or materially. You always have your time and your presence. So just as an experiment, if you see somebody on the street, whether it's just a neighbor, a friend, a homeless person, just be totally present to them. Give them your time, say, hey, how, not like, you don't even have to give them money, just say, hey, how's your day going? What's happening with you? Just being in that moment and being of service to somebody else with the intention like, hey, how can I just be here for this person right now, rather than, what can I get out of this? Or, that I, me, my mindset. It's really is such a beautiful thing. So the service work, being there for somebody else, is such a gift. And again, to me, it's totally holistic reciprocity that just warms my heart, because in a way, sometimes I feel selfish. I'm like, I get so much out of this serving other people. But it's I do feel like it really is a wonderful gift to give and to receive as well. So and on that point that you were just saying about like the family, like the saying, it takes a village, it takes a tribe. I mean, that's what I missed, moving from New York 2 years ago, and I feel like I'm building a tribe, building a community. You and I became friends, and we do business together, we meet other people, yes. And, we're present for each other. And that is true of what you're saying, like even down to that family unit. It used to be, you could have 2, 3, 4 generations sometimes, the aunties, yes. The grandparents, and everybody working together. And, yes. And like you said, they don't want to be bothered. They're actually bothered by it. It's like, oh, I don't want to live with my parents. Oh, I don't want to live with my mother. I don't want my kids here. And it's the whole mindset has changed. And that was and can still be a wonderful way to have that family unit and connection and to, grow as a community. Yeah, we definitely are missing that.
Yeah, it is. Yes. I'm just listening to you and like, how can we bring that back? That would be something so worthwhile.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be? How do we bring
Absolutely.
that back?
I think by example, and I totally get it. I've raised three sons. Like I invited them to come down and live with me. Right now, I'm living in an apartment, 1-bedroom apartment. But originally I got a 3-bedroom apartment, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, like kind of a private little area. My youngest son was graduating. I'm like, come live here, you'll love it. There's an art community. There's this hiking. He wants to be autonomous. So. I don't know if that backfired in my face. I raised them to be so autonomous. They don't want to live with pops. But,
Yes.
but yeah, it's I think just living by example and just letting people know that it is okay. And the thing that came up to me too, the word that popped in when you said that is tolerance. It seems like there's not always enough tolerance, especially for our families. And, I get it because I've experienced myself. Sometimes families are very, very challenging, and sometimes it's not in everyone's best interest if there's not healthy boundaries there. So, we got to take it on a case by case. But then again, that's opportunity for growth also,
Families are interesting. And then, seriously.
Okay, yes, interesting is a word we could use, yes.
and each family has their own flavor, right? But then there is this generational patterns, right? Sometimes referred to as the generational curses.
We'll be right back after this.
Do you sometimes feel down, lost, or lonely? Are your finances feeling sluggish? Can your relationships use a healthy tune-up? Don't fear, bro. Help is here. Experience the benefits of connecting with other men who are going through similar challenges. Be supported in our safe, sacred, and inspiring monthly telecircle with the Brotherhood of the Illuminated Warriors. Connect with Waska for one-on-one mentoring with the first session completely free. What have you got to lose? Check out illuminatedwarrior.com or send an email to waska@illuminatedwarrior.com. You're invited to step up your game and join us. You'll be glad you did.
I remember when I got present to how this works, generation after generation, the grandmother and the mother, and then the daughter, and then the granddaughter. Like I'm thinking about my 4 or 5 generations, right? And this is all on my mother's side, right? And then for the boys, it's on the father's side, right? And there's something. So going back to when I first got present to it, I was like, how do I break that? How do I break that generational curse? You got to be very careful what you ask for.
That's for sure. So how did you do it? What did you do?
Well, I'm still
in the process,
grappling with it.
Yeah, I feel that.
And but I'm aware of. I'm becoming more aware of how my mother's mother used to be, how her mother used to be, because I got to see my mother's grandmother, so my great grandmother on my mother's side. So that was one. Then my grandmother, then mommy, and they all 3 have transitioned, of course. And then myself, my daughter, and then my granddaughter. So you're talking about 6 generations that I am connected, like I'm aware of, I'm present to, because I've, seen the others, and now I'm with the other 2, my daughter and my granddaughter. And I'm noticing how things that happened to my grandmother, my mother's mother, how that impacted my mother. Things that happened for my mother and how she raised me, right? Things
Yeah.
she said, things she didn't realize what she was saying that had an impact on me. And then how I made decisions based on that. And then as a single mother for 13 years raising my daughter, I said some things and I made some choices that have had an impact on my daughter. And then there it goes and on and on. And it's like God Almighty, thank God for prayer and meditation and the processes that we do on our spiritual paths. That's the only way we can ease this journey and break any of the negative or dark influences, because there are so many beautiful aspects that come from our ancestors.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I want to hold on to all those beautiful traits and do away with what doesn't really further us. For some people, avoidance through choosing alcohol or drugs or, whatever else. But it never goes away. It's right there waiting for us to turn to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I always say emotions buried alive never die. They'll come up at some point in time and you may not even know what it's related to. So dealing with it and diving deep and feeling fully is like so important. I've shared this with a few close friends, and actually I'll call them close friends. We've gotten closer over this past week. Because I think I've shared with you this already. I lost two close friends this past week, and it was heavy on my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I had two other friends who had two huge losses also. So I can very easily be that lone wolf, but I have to walk my talk. I mean, this is what I've taught my kids, and I taught all the guys I work with. I'm like, you can't get through it alone in the healthiest possible way. When you need support, when I needed support, I reached out. Yes, I sat at home and I bawled and I cried and I felt and I was really down, but then I said, hey, let me reach out to some other people. And in doing so, I found out that two other people were going through loss. So we came together, we shared our stories, we shared the beautiful things about those who have passed, we shared our grief, and we hugged it out, we cried it out, we laughed it out. And instead of keeping it in, the three of us could have very easily just kept it in, but we didn't. We chose to share it with each other, and we got vulnerable. And that's a big thing also, especially for guys. It's like there's nothing more beautiful than letting your emotions be seen, be felt, be experienced by somebody else. And I grew up, I cry in my room so nobody could see me. I mean, that was the way I was brought up. But what a lot of guys are brought up that way. Don't cry in front of, don't cry, let alone
don't cry, period.
Right, be strong, be a man.
Yes.
And that paradigm is so dead. I mean, that's when I talk to guys and see guys who are like, we can't cry, we got to be tough. I'm like, no, we don't have to be tough. Tough is, there's a difference between like force and power, forcing your way through life and like forcing people to submit and all that nonsense is just, it's dead. True power is like expressing yourself so somebody else could relate and grow from it, and you both grow and you both elevate. And that's how we, bring everybody up, not just one or two or five, everybody elevates. And that, to me, that's what it's about. So yeah, it's a sharing those experiences and feeling, and letting somebody else have that experience as well and being there for them.
It's so beautiful when you speak about, as a man, being vulnerable. What a gift it is to the women in their life. What a gift it is to their sons and their daughters. Because children are watching their parents, right? The daughter's going to attract toward her when she grows up a man that's either just like her dad or is the opposite of her father.
Yes, very true. Yeah.
and the son is going to become like the father. right?
Goes with both genders, the male with opposite
Absolutely.
parent and female with her. Yes, yeah.
So the work that you're doing with the guys the men that you work with, what an immense impact, for their wives and their mothers and their sons and their daughters.
Yeah,
And
and
then
generations behind that also, just like you were saying, healing that generational wound, that we carry forward.
that's it, generational wound. That's right.
Yeah. Because we're all in trauma, some type of kind of trauma. We've all gone through some type of trauma. I don't
Yes.
care who you are, So I just think it's like so important because again, growing up, I was very very shy and introverted. I'd retreat. I'd go, like a wounded animal, go cry and do what I had to do, and then I'd come out. But the reality is, when as men, just like you said, it is a sharing and a gift to the women. I'm not saying just be a blubbering baby all the time. Feel what you're feeling, experience it, let it out, and then move on. And then have that strength and power to do what needs to be done because you're not holding this stuff in that's going to be triggered by the smallest thing that you don't even know what's going on, but something triggers you. And because you didn't feel what you're really feeling, just same thing with anger. When I found my voice, coming from little Perry Wayne Finkelstein, who never opened his mouth. He was the good little son, the little boy who my role in the alcoholic family was keep everything cool, whatever anybody needed, make them happy, And then I found my voice, my Vashuddha, my throat chakra opened up. I spoke my truth with compassion. Family didn't like it, which is a whole nother dynamic. But it released a lot of things, and I asked for healthy, boundaries and all. And, doing that, it helps everybody in the long run, and then you could feel empowered. And the point I was going to make is then I became a little angry because my family wouldn't honor my requests for healthy boundaries. And, and then it was like, he's angry. He went from this, quiet little, nice, wonderful little boy. He's so angry. And I was, it would make me more angry. And then, then I learned, like, what? It's okay to be angry. Channel it in a good way. Don't go around like, cursing or punching people out. Channel it. But, like anything else, like shame or guilt or whatever, anger needs to be acknowledged also,
Yes.
So we got to go through all these emotions and work them out and be heard and be validated, and be acknowledged, just like we do for other people. It's important.
It's so important. The conversation about how do we responsibly process our anger, right? Coming from an Indian family, raised in India with a father who was a very strong person, would get angry, right? I would get very angry as I went through my divorce and then, dealing with whatever I had to deal with as a single mother. And when I started doing my personal development work, I began to notice how angry I am.
Can I interject and ask you a question? So from what I was told, like the Indian culture, like Indians don't show their anger. They keep it in. I don't know if that was your experience or not. That's what I was told.
Not with my father.
Okay, all right. Maybe not in the family so much, but like socially, like outwardly.
Oh, socially, everybody is very prim and proper. Right?
But that has to affect you on the personal and family level, though.
Oh, okay. Totally, right? It's like you put up this mask. It's like everything is lovely, and it is not, right? It's not.
So I interjected. So how did you deal with that with your dad's anger?
Well, it was one thing with my dad. So my dad was very verbal. Not abusive verbally, but the yelling and the whatever, and toward my mother and toward a few other people in the family. I can go making myself wrong or beating myself up. There's no cheese down that tunnel, right? What we got to do is, okay, it just, for me, it was an aha to notice, oh my God, I'm angry. And when the anger would come out in ways that I was not very proud of how I expressed it. But the important thing is that I began to notice it. And once I noticed it, then I was like, oh no, this is not how I want to be. When it's all default, you know, there is you don't even realize what's running the show. But it's when you begin to work on raising your awareness and start telling the truth to yourself. And then saying, hey, you know what? This is not what I want. This is not how I want to be. And then I didn't know how I was ever going to not be the way I have known myself to be. And that's where the breakthroughs occurred for me. And then just, doing the work, the consistent. Oh, I tell you, transformation is, for lack of a better word, it's a bloody inconvenience.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable.
No, it's not supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be.
And once you're aware of it, you have no choice but to keep going in that direction, right?
Right. And then what comes out on the other side is so beautiful.
Yeah.
You get to connect with people. You get to just go within and experience certain aspects that are right there waiting to be acknowledged.
Growing up, I remember I had really bad pains in my legs, and my mom would call them growing pains because that's exactly what they were. I was probably early mid-teens, and I used to get these really bad pains in my legs. She's like, they're growing pains. Your legs are growing. And of course, it was painful. It was uncomfortable. It was something I did not want to experience, but it literally helped me to grow. So I'm thinking about that as a metaphor, just like you were saying. Yes, we don't want to do this. It's not comfortable. It's painful, but the outcome is growth.
And it never stops.
Because not everybody is on a growth path. And I say it's not even anybody's fault, because a lot of these things, if not all of them, like, we're not taught this growing up. Most of us are not taught any of this stuff growing up. We're just taught, okay, for guys, find the partner, get married, have 2.5 kids, get the house, get the great job, get your sports car, drink beer with the boys on the weekend and watch football. I mean, that's the American dream. Oh gosh, so far from the truth of what reality is. It's like, wow.
So right on. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's reflective in our media and our movies. If you look at how the media and the movies have gone, like I'm watching some series now that heavy hitting stuff that, like, I don't know if you've seen, like, This Is Us or A Million Little Things, or even The Morning Show on Apple. They're dealing with some very, very real issues, very current issues. And I think it's great because they're not skirting the issue. They're not masking it or hiding it. It's like, okay, this stuff happens on a daily basis, and we need to be awake and aware. And some of the characters, they're legitimately like, wow, they're trying to bust out and be better people, but they really honestly didn't know they were doing what they were doing, which is certainly not an excuse for doing not nice things. But that's the reality of a lot of people, because we're so inundated with all this information, this false information, this manufactured media. And, it's not healthy. It's great to just take a step back and just get outside and enjoy. And as I always say, be on the earth, be with Mother Nature, be on the land, and connect with reality, things that are actually organic and alive. And all the messages that we need are out there in nature, and connect.
We'll be right back after this. Hey guys, this is Waska. Listen, if you're hearing my voice, there are no coincidences. Are you ready to get unblocked and take the next step forward, whether it's with relationship issues, finances, or just moving into the next phase to elevate yourself? Listen, bros, this is what I do. I'm here for you. Drop me an email at Waska, that's WASKA, at illuminatedwarrior.com. We will work on this together and take you to the next step. I promise you'll be glad you did.
people are living their life not knowing that there are other options.
True.
Or there's a better way to go about it. Because either nobody has told them or they have never seen anybody demonstrate it, whether it's family or whether it's, whoever, a teacher, or it could be your friends, parents, if it's not your parents. It's a big missing.
Yeah, it absolutely is, so that's why I say by example. So when people see you living a certain way, I think they get attracted to that. It's like, how come you're so happy? I'm like, I could give you a million different reasons why I'm so happy. It's like, I wake up, but I do make the choice every day to be happy. I'm grateful every day because, there's a lot of things I could complain about, but there's more things that I could give gratitude and be happy about. And that is a choice. And that sets the tone for the day, the month, the week, the life, so, and we get stuck in these patterns. So like, as you've often said, we got to shed these old paradigms. It's very true. We don't have to stay stuck in them, but it takes taking that first footstep and a second footstep and sticking with it, the consistency of setting good, healthy patterns, breaking the past stuff, breaking that which doesn't work for us right now, and sticking with it. Because they say, like, even with things that we're addicted to, like 21 to 30 days is like, even energetically, chemically, spiritually, physically, it takes at least that amount of time to turn things around and create new neural pathways. So when we're dedicated to that practice, things can absolutely and will absolutely change.
We often read posts on Facebook, hey, you don't know what impact you've made on somebody's life by simply having that eye contact and giving them a smile. After I was in corporate America for 18 years, it was like, hey, what do I want to do for the rest of my life that I already love doing, but I can do it until the end of my days, right? And this is what I want to do. Just really, being there for people as they navigate the gap from where they are right now to where they would love to be.
Yeah.
Right. Really, that's what I want to do.
I feel like the Cheshire Cat, because I know you agree with this. So it's like the greatest. It's almost like the greatest secret that what we do, right? Because yes, we're making a living at it, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But it's like you would do it if you didn't make a dime, right? Because
exactly, I was doing it.
Well, I think I did it for like almost 15 years before I'm like, I actually could help myself and have the reciprocity of getting some greenbacks here too. But we were doing it, and we would do it because it's such a beautiful way to live, and it's such a being in that service and seeing other people find their truth, find their balance, find their peace of mind, and grow. I mean, there's no better gift. There really isn't,
I received a call yesterday from, and I know she won't mind, I'm not going to give her name out, but she is my ex-husband's sister. And about 20 years ago, I introduced her to a program which made a huge impact in her life. She just profusely, out of the blue, just acknowledged me for what I do, for the contribution my sharing with her made for her. And it's just like, that's why we do what we do, because of what it does for people and their futures and their children and the choices they make and the lives that they touch. I have many, 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 many such examples in my life where, what a privilege.
Yeah.
What a privilege it is to enter someone's life and touch them so deeply and make a difference.
Yeah, beautiful. That is wonderful. Yeah. every time you speak, I mean, I'm being present to what you're saying, so I try not to let my mind go too far. But like, I'm very visual, you know. Obviously, I do video production, so images pop in my head, and I was just, remembering like when Jonah, my oldest son, was like within a year and a half, and I used to put him in the backpack and take him, walk him around, and what came to me was that really my transformation. I mean, I've always obviously been growing and stuff, but my true transformation came when I became a father, because I really wanted to change the life that I was living. I was still pretty young, and I mean, that's all relative, but I was drinking and partying with my friends, and it was all about woo, but I realized I'm going to preface this by saying I love my dad. My dad taught me so many great lessons. He was a great, wonderful father, doing the best that he could. Because a lot of times I talk about him and I think like, well, does it sound like I'm bashing him? But I'm not. I mean, he was an alcoholic. He just did things that I don't take into my life, and I didn't want my boys to learn. I mean, he cheated on my mom. He gambled. He drank every day. He did things that like I said, but it was a gift, because I think if I didn't have him as a dad, I might have wound up doing those things. I don't know. So becoming a father myself, part of my impetus was like, I'm not going to do those things. I'm going to be better. And again, no disrespect to my dad. I think all parents, I believe so anyway, we want our kids to be more elevated than us. We just want the best for them, right? So that was really like the really turning point for me, is becoming a dad and saying like, okay, dude, step up your game here, and do all the things you need to do. So as we talked about before, I don't keep these patterns going of dysfunction and disease within our family. And for the most part, I really see that it's worked. I mean, I kicked myself in the butt a couple times, like, all right, I'm sure I gave them some other bad habits or whatever, but at least they're new bad habits, right? Which is funny, because I asked them, and they're like, no, you're a great dad. I'm like, I'm sure there's some things like maybe they just don't want to say. I don't know.
They're being very kind.
Yes. But things like that, are a great, motivator to step up the game, so and you don't even have to be a dad as a man. I mean, there's always something there, to motivate and elevate and take that next step into our journey.
And probably your children also get, you've with your example, given them the gift and taught them how to choose, and they're not just being kind to you, but they are being with you and acknowledging you for who you are, and they know you are doing the best that you know, and you keep working on yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's, of course we all make mistakes, but that was in the past.
Mm-hmm.
When someone's on a path and they are committed to ongoingly work on themselves and transform themselves and those around, I mean, gosh, I can see why your children say, no, they don't, there's nothing there for them. That's extraordinary.
And I'm thinking about a proud moment for me. So when I started doing the Way of the Illuminated Warrior men's work, my oldest son Jonah, he was like totally gung ho for it. He was 16 at the time, I think, and he stayed with the program I think about 5 or 6 years, and then he was so concerned about hurting my feelings. He's like, Pops, he's like, this has been like so great for me, and he's like starting to list all the ways that he's grown. I'm like, like, what's going on? He's like, I just feel like I just don't want to do it anymore. I want to find my own way. And I was so proud, because I'm like, you know what? That's what all these teachings and what my intentions always be to be autonomous. You've gotten
Yes.
so much out of it, like you're saying, you don't need to necessarily be under my wing anymore. So I'm like super proud of you. Don't feel, any kind of angst or any kind of trepidation about even saying that. I'm super proud, and
Yes.
he still joins our monthly men's circles and stuff, but he just feels like he's like, now I want to go out and figure out for myself. I'm like,
Yes.
kudos. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it's all about, right? Connecting with people and sharing the love, as I say. My father always used to laugh about that. He's like, because I'd always say, why can't we all be friends and let's share the love? He used to make fun of me about it, but after a while he used to say it. I'm like, see, it's rubbing off on you.
It is really about sharing the love. It fills us up, and then when we are fulfilled, that's when we can give more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, whoever we are, whatever energy we put out there, I'm sure you've heard the expressions like, energy follows thought, and, move a muscle, change a thought, all those little sayings. But it is true, the law of attraction, all these different things that we hear. I challenge the guys all the time. I'm like, if they're feeling like down or angry, whatever, I'm like, just try it for like the next week, and then we push it into 2 weeks and then 3 weeks. But like, just try just being really happy, just being really nice to everybody around you, just being in the mindset like I have enough. So whatever their current challenge or issue is, like, well, I don't have enough to pay the bills this month. I'm like, just vision that you have enough. Okay, it's going to come from somewhere. Just go with that. Just humor me, humor yourself. And so many times, so I'll share this story. This brother Paulie, he would be happy about that. But really didn't have a lot of money. Smoked cigarettes, had his his way about him. So he's going off to a deli to get whatever he's getting, more cigarettes or whatever. And there's a homeless guy out there. And so he decided to take his last $20 because the guy he's like, hey, can you help me out? And he's like, I've been there before. So he gave him the $20, couldn't buy his cigarettes, and but he felt good about it. He's like, all right, I'm practicing this. And on his way home, he's like, I swear to you, Waska, he's like, I found a $100 bill on the ground. I'm like, see, there is no coincidence with that. I mean, this is the universe providing, and I've heard so many stories like that. It's like when we're put that intention and attention out there, and we're aware of it, universe really does provide. So I challenge the guys. I'm like, go with it, man. Try it. See for yourself. Don't take my word for it. See for yourself. See how it feels. See how it works out, and it does. It absolutely does.
Every time.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a win-win situation. Yeah. Who wants to be miserable anyway?
That's right.
Yeah. So what would you say is one of your greatest takeaways from this encompassing journey of starting off as your little girl in India and doing this transformational work and serving other people? Like, for yourself, what's like one of the big aha moments that's helped you to transform in your own life?
There have been many, many aha moments, but the one that's right here for me, that I'm most present to, is my spiritual journey and what I'm doing right now and how it is impacting me on a day-to-day basis in my relationships, in my relationship with myself, in my work that I do, in how I be with my clients. I follow Sadhguru, and I went through a process called inner engineering, and I did the course and have been doing my kriyas on a consistent basis. And it's made a huge difference for me in my life where I am right now. And before I came to Sadhguru, I grew up in India in a family, where the presence of God was absolutely celebrated. There was a lot around the different deities and how we prayed in India, right? Lots of festivities, festivals, and celebrations, and also lots of chanting and scripture reading, right? Very much like your son, and then I did what I did, and then I had to really discover it for myself, right? It's not about just learning it, or this is how my parents did it, and this is how I'm going to do it. No. It's about finding my expression. And so that's been my journey. I'm totally somebody who believes in God and, knows that I'm here. And I have a lot of support and guidance from my mentors and teachers, seen and unseen. And I'm very thankful for their blessings.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I know you have a very special practice that's close to your heart. It shows in your smile and your affect and being.
You.
Yeah, it's important. It's important. I feel for each of us to have a personal practice, So for me, back there somewhere, I have my meditation cushion and my yoga mat, and and it's not. I tell the guys, it's not just about crossing your legs and sitting on top of the mountain. I got my guitar back there too. It's like whatever brings you joy, whatever brings you closer to, whatever your connection is to spirit, I think is just like really important. So it could be anything for anyone. It's just being in that focused mindset of the world doesn't revolve around me. There is greater energies out there, and connecting with them, it serves us, and then we could serve others. So what would you say to the women that would be listening to this, how they could have better relationships or more connected relationships with the men in their lives? What would you want to say to them in your experience as a woman and as a transformational coach? What's something that you could share?
The work gets done where I am, where you are. When we are in alignment, being true to who we are, finding out how to be true to who you are. How do you discover that? These are good questions to ask. And that's what getting into a conversation, I offer a very high value 1 hour session. And sometimes it's these kinds of questions that come up. What are your longings? What are your discontents? Not too many people engage, or even if they have a longing, they've just swept it under the rug. No. What are they? What is something that you want, that you would love? So my coaching to any woman is, whether it's the man in your life, whether it's your boss, whether it's a coworker, whether it's your children, the more you are in touch with who you are and what you love and what makes you come alive. Boy, when you're doing that and you're fulfilled, every relationship around you, they'll be like, whoa.
Yeah.
What's going on there? What's that shift? See, it's filling your cup first. See, people get in relationships, they want the other person to make them happy. It doesn't work like that.
That's true, yeah.
It's the man and the woman, they got to each fill up their cups. And it's the overflow is what you share with each other.
Yeah, so true, so true.
Start asking questions. Don't settle for mediocrity.
Yeah.
Pay attention to how you're feeling. Are you happy? What's next? What makes you come alive? So start asking these questions. Yes, that's what I would like to say for them.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that because asking the questions is so key. A
Yes.
lot of times people don't get asked the questions and therefore they don't even think about these things themselves. So
Right.
I think it's super important to ask the right questions. What's your joy? What's your bliss? What makes you happy? And to know thyself, which I'm hearing you say also, is just so key. Knowing yourself, so no one else can know you until you really know yourself.
No.
It's very, very important.
By the way, I have coaches in my life.
Very good point. We all need coaches.
We all need coaches.
Very,
so
very
yes, I may
true,
be a coach, but I'm an effective coach because I have coaches in my life. And my coach said, the quality of our life is correlated to the quality of questions we are asking ourselves.
Good point. Yes.
Right?
Very, very true. Yeah. Yeah. So, because we're almost out of time, I'll just answer briefly that I think this goes for both men and women. So for women, same thing, ask the right questions. I don't believe that we really understand each other real well, the genders right now, especially all the genders, but speaking heterosexually, is just to be present with each other, to ask those questions, those important questions, and even set up guidelines beforehand to say like, hey, I know you're excited, you want to respond, just hear me out, let me talk, and then I'm really want to hear what you have to say, because that's a really big thing also, the interruption and the interjection when you're having a serious conversation with your partner, and get out what your desires are, what your core beliefs are, what's important to you, and make sure before you move on that you're heard, that you're validated. And that doesn't mean that you have to agree with each other, but make sure you hear each other and that you're responding, from the heart, not from a place of like, I need to win, which means you need to lose. So if you want a win-win situation, be present with each other, ask those questions and listen with your ears, and then, and then respond. So, but this was really awesome. And I could see us doing another one. So I invite the audience to absolutely check out Sandhya's offering. All the information will be in the show notes, but if you want to just say your contact information as well, I'll make sure it's in there.
Absolutely. So the best way to connect with me is going to be getting on my calendar. So we can put my calendar link, candidly.com, Lotus Life Mastery -1. And my website is lotuslifemastery.com. And yes, Waska has created a fabulous promotional introductory video of the work that I do. So please do get on my website and check out my introductory video and Waska's work. Thank you,
All
Waska.
right, beautiful. Well, this was wonderful. I hope everybody enjoyed and got a lot out of our conversation. So until next time, keep illuminating your life with love and kindness.
Visit IlluminatedWarrior.com if you'd like to go deeper and find out more about what's available within the Illuminated Warrior Men's Transformational Community. Tune in next time for more candid conversations for men and women about men on the Way of the Illuminated Warrior Talk Show every Thursday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. Until next time, illuminate your path with loving kindness.